All right, guys, I'm just gonna do a real quick kind of spontaneous reading. I'm not gonna read an entire book of poetry, even though that's what this title will sound like. I'm gonna just read the sample. I'm gonna read the sample that's on Kindle. And what I'm doing right now is actually, just to be completely transparent, I'm trying to choose something to read for like my next Saturday class that I'm teaching, and I realized that instead of using the books that I already have for the class, it might be interesting to just read a sample from something that's relevant to what's happening right now with Ukraine. And I think that would be, it just seems like a good idea to me, honestly. So I'm gonna just work with that right now. And I think I'll land on this Deaf Republic. I just did a little bit of searching before starting to stream, but we'll see. If I change it up, I'll have to change the what do you call it, the title of the stream. But for now, I'm kind of, I tried reading a little bit of Anne Applebaum's Red Famine, which I think it seems like a highly acclaimed historical piece on what happened about almost 100 years ago with Stalin. Holodomor. Okay, I don't know the word for it, but basically this famine that wiped out a significant swath of the population of Ukraine. It was a huge tragedy. So there is Anne Applebaum's piece right there. Then there's also the Deaf Republic. And you know what? I'll actually just show you where I found these recommendations from, because I might as well reproduce my actual process over here. That's probably all information I shouldn't be. Where'd my window go? Did I close my windows? Looks like I closed it. So let me just open it up over here. Let me just double check too that my screen is showing up proper for you guys. It's really hard to make this work, right? Does that kind of work? Oh, it's kind of awkward. Okay, I see. So I'm gonna put this over here. I think that should be roughly good enough. Just double checking. Yeah. And what happened was I was actually looking up the Red Famine in Amazon and then Goodreads, but Goodreads has this amazing genres thing, which is a little less commercial feeling than the one that Amazon has, right? So I could just click on agricultural science or history of Russia and former Soviet republics, and I could look at this, like the bestsellers. And Red Famine is, by the way, one of the top. Ooh, actually, that sounds kind of interesting. That might be. Oh man, these are some of the top sellers right now because of what's happening in Ukraine right now. So actually, this might be a really great list just to work with. Winter is coming. Why? Vladimir. Yeah, this is a name I know, man. What is his name? Who is this person? Human Rights Foundation. Oh, he's the chess grandmaster, dude. Okay, that's kind of interesting. That might be interesting to read. Hang on, when was this written? Where's the publication date? When was the 2015? Okay, so okay, that's a provocative title. Winter is coming. And then The Gates of Europe. Let's look at this. Number one, 304 ratings, 364 ratings. When was this written? Just looking at this right now, 2017, so more recently. Professor from Harvard, or a director at Harvard, and a professor at Harvard, yeah, which makes sense. And so he's the number one bestseller right now in history of Russia and former Soviet republics. So maybe I will end up not reading the sample in particular. Maybe I'll just sort of skim through. I might have to just rename this stream altogether and just talk about and just just show my process for like discovering things to read about Ukraine. So maybe this whole concept is going to be thrown topsy-turvy right now, but over here, if you look at cultural Ukraine, this list on Goodreads is also pretty cool, you know, pretty useful. So I want to just start there. And this is where I found Dev Republic. I found Red Famine from just like a Google blog recommending random books about Ukraine. That's where I started, and then I ended up at the Goodreads page, and then I found Deaf Republic, which is poetry from 2019. So I do think that would be worth reading with some students. I'm just looking at some of these other what do you call it? Excerpts or blurbs, I mean, about these other books that are popular about Ukraine in this Ukraine section. I'm just looking at this, and this seems like a novel. But it includes how in 2013 there's this protest, and then the protest turns violent. And it follows the course of 4 individuals. It does seem like fiction, although it's not exactly 100% clear, so I'm going to look at that. That kind of seems interesting as well. Ukraine books. Honestly, there's so much that's going on that I feel like just skimming through this feels a little overwhelming for me. Let me see what happens if I just look at Russian history real quick. Most read this week tagged Russian history, right? So this is about Russia. A lot of history books. Just looking for things that are maybe highly rated. Stalin's War, From Russia with Blood. Interesting. It's interesting. I feel like, at least with Amazon, it's a little easier to sort of focus. Here's what I'm drawn to. I'll just say it flat out. I'm drawn to potentially this. I think a novel. Is this a novel? It is. It's fiction. Okay. So I'm drawn to this novel that takes place in contemporary Ukraine. So I think it's worth reading a sample of this. So let me actually go straight to that sample. I'm going to go and deliver a sample to myself. Okay, I'm drawn to this. I'm also drawn The Gates of Europe. So I'm drawn to one of these history books. I'm not sure which one I should go for right now. The Red Famine is about a very significant event, and it's also a very well-reviewed book, but it does seem a little distant. And I did read a little. I skimmed a little bit of this sample, and it does seem a little distant from what's. I mean, intellectually, it's not distant. I think the history, that's a very real history for Ukraine. So I'm not saying at an academic level it's distant, but it does feel a little distant from maybe more of the actual contemporary political situation of the moment. I think there are going to be closer. There are going to be texts that engage with it in a more intimate way. So I was thinking maybe not that so much. Like Chernobyl will be also like a little distant, right? So not this, not these. And you know what? Maybe it's just these. Maybe it's just the ones that I found on Amazon. Maybe it's just these two that I'm kind of interested in right now, which are these 2 books that I have open in tabs. Again, let me just double check my video is all good, right? Yeah. So winter is coming. Why Vladimir Putin and the enemies of the free world must be stopped. This does seem a little let's see, provocative. Maybe that's a good thing. So let me just double check on Goodreads how people rated this. Okay, so it's, it's high. It's not low. 3.9. We're making it's a polemical piece. Some people don't like it because it's not very objective. He's written a polemic. Okay, this is cool. All this wealth controlled by Putin, who has built a mafia-like command structure that lets him eliminate anybody who fails to obey orders. Interesting. Ruthless psychopath. Huh. So it looks like is a non-issue. I wonder if this guy wrote an update for 2021. Oh no, he didn't. Or for 2022 now, sorry, 2021. So this reviewer, he or she, was writing a lot of updates as things were happening. This might be actually pretty informative. Unsurprisingly superficial. I do believe, this is gonna be maybe like it's gonna be provocative. Okay. It would be easy to dismiss as a polemical, is literally what he said. What he or she said, John. This might be not that bad actually. Let me now see this one. This one's gonna be more academic, yeah. So maybe less provocative. So actually, I might as well take this moment to kind of compare the difference between Amazon reviews and Goodreads reviews. But I do find that for some reason I tend to gravitate towards Goodreads for some reason. All right, let's go into Goodreads. I don't know. I just looked at it. I'm not drawn to those reviews. 4.2. We must understand the past. So this is going to be a much more historical view. Okay, wow, this is a huge block of text. I'm not going to read this. It's just overwhelming. It was a challenge. It's full of invasions. It's managed to survive. You'll find good and bad. Okay, it's kind of just sure. Was a tough read. It's he hasn't scratched the itch for him. Massive details are just, it's very, I see. Entire centuries are covered in pages of Greek and Roman. So it's talking about the actual
I don't understand. Hey Siri. I see it in entire centuries are covered in
Siri, it's okay. You don't have to understand. What was I was thinking about this. Oh, right, because it seems to be talking about a sort of macro history of Ukraine. So this would be someone who's this would be more, I think, effective for, or effective. I don't know if effective is the right word, but more interesting for somebody who's really interested in kind of the identity of Ukraine, the national identity of Ukraine, and the nationalistic stances that the people of Ukraine are taking and are maybe perhaps torn by. Yeah. Was the famine Right. This is a overview of all of Ukrainian history. So I think this one I'll have to pass on. So right now, I think there are two books that I think would be at least interested in checking out the samples of. Something that's critical of Putin, and this poetry by Ukrainian American Deaf Republic. But actually, let me look into Deaf Republic, because I just realized, you know what? I don't really know a lot about Deaf Republic. Deaf Republic, Goodreads. Okay, so this is a sort of a... Okay, here we go. Let's get to the end. It's a love story, an elegy, a plea. It confronts our time's vicious atrocities and our collective silence in the face of them. What is the language of resistance? 15 years since he last wrote. It's an epic poem told in a series of contemporary short-form poems. The city of Vasenka is under the occupation of a violent military. Okay. I've been floored. Oof. You know what? You know what? Just from a distance, I just like scanned these three lines in like a instinctual speed. Like I didn't even read the whole thing, but I just read those. I saw the structure, the repetitive structure of those words, and I think I just like impressionistically saw the word asphalt, lies, boy, and it hurt immediately. That was so. These lines are so intense right now. The body of the boy lies on the asphalt like a paperclip. The body of the boy lies on the asphalt like the body of a boy. Oof. Dude. You know, this is going to be intense. This is going to be intense. Hey, let me I wonder if this is sort of trending right now. So let me Ilya Kaminsky. Let me see. 2022. No, we're not seeing a lot from 2022. Interesting, at least on Twitter. Maybe I'll try Deaf Republic. Okay, so we have mentions right now of Ilya Kaminsky's Deaf Republic since 4 days ago. Yeah, this is like 25 minutes ago. You know, I feel a certain urgency, like as part of like a diaspora people, like as a Korean American, you know, I tend to as a Korean American who lived in Korea for 10 years, you know, I tend to have a like some I would say healthy skepticism of things written about the home country from an American standpoint. And so, you know, when I learned that the poet was an Ukrainian American, I wasn't like immediately like, yeah, maybe I was biased, but like I was like, just that immediate reaction I had was Ukrainian American though, you know, that was kind of my immediate reaction. But then again, I mean, who else is close to the reality right now? And who knows, I mean, about Ilya Kaminsky could be very well connected to what's happening in Ukraine, and just the history of, and the society of, and the culture of. So, you know, I just don't know. So I think it'd be worth at least reading a sample. So I think those are some interesting readings to just like kind of delve into right now. I think right now, if you wanna do something more than all the doom scrolling on Twitter or Facebook or wherever you happen to doom scroll, and you wanna learn a little bit more besides the other obvious actions you could take. You want to learn a little bit more. I think just going on Goodreads and seeing what other people are reading, I think that's a good start. I'm not going to say it's hard to make moral statements about these things. Must you? Should you? Ought you? But hey, I'm here. I want to know. I want to hear. So if you do too, then just join me as I do this. I wonder why there isn't like a Ukraine section, right? Can I get like a Ukraine section? All right, let's look at this. Genre cultural Ukraine. I guess this is the only real one. What is this? This seems quite spicy. Okay, it seems like an action novel. No, you know what? Let me go into the samples. I'm gonna go right into the samples. Oh, I didn't put the Kasparov. Let me get the Kasparov real quick. Send a free sample of the Kasparov. Okay, and let's. So if I refresh, I should get the Kasparov. There we go. Immediately, I do want to start with the Deaf Republic, so let's go into it. We lived happily during the war. As a Korean, there's levels of resonance. I can't even explain it. The creepiness of those words. We lived happily during the war, and the what? I think I read this before. I think I read this. Anyway. The creepiness of those words. We lived happily during the war, and also Korea being at the DMZ with the North Korea. It's just there's like levels of resonance there. It's hard for me to explain. I'm looking at. Oh, I see. Because someone said that this is like an epic. So there's two lyric poems, In a Time of Peace and We Lived Happily During the War, and they're kind of like the preface and the what's the opposite of preface, like a postface. They kind of bookend the epic. And obviously with the sample, I assume I can't read that. Right. So let me go back to. Let's see what poems we can get from this. Deaf Republic. Now, when I read poetry on paper, I tend to not. See, it's not so much a line by line. Let me try it this way. I feel like part of the enjoyment of poetry is seeing the whole. Like a layout of it on the page, okay? But I'm gonna try reading it line by line, like I do with all my other readings, and see what happens here. And maybe I'll zoom out afterwards. Oh, I definitely read this. I don't remember in what context. It must have been Twitter. feels like I read this very recently. We lived happily during the war, and when they bombed other people's houses, we protested, but not enough. We opposed them, but not enough. I was in my bed. Around my bed, America was falling. Invisible house by invisible house by invisible house. I took a chair outside and watched the sun. Okay. So, crazy enjambment here. I was in my bed, around my bed, America. And like I was around my bed, like it's hard to parse that immediately, right? But then it says around my bed, America was falling. And being in your bed while houses are being bombed, America's falling, houses are falling, but they're invisible. Like what is this? Like the ghost of these houses? I took a chair outside and watched the sun. And that's so odd. It's an odd image. In the 6th month of a disastrous reign in the house of money, in the city, in the country of money, our great country of money, we, forgive us, lived happily during the war. Part of me doesn't connect to the last couple lines because I don't know if the money as a symbol is that effective for me. I'm not really anti-capitalistic, so it doesn't. I used to be a lot more, when I was reading the Bible and I was very fervent, and I thought, and even to this day, I don't really care that much about money personally, but I'm not moved by in the house of money, in the street of money, in the city of money, in the country of money, our great country of money, we lived happily during the war. I feel like the first half was just so much more powerful for me. That said, there's a tradition of literature that's like this, and it's not all just socialist and communist. It's like, even like if you start with, there's a moral stance, if you like, from what I know, right? It's like from the Bible, like from the New Testament, with the worship of mammon, right? But besides the Bible, there's probably other traditions. I'm just sharing the ones that I do know, and the worship of money, it's for obvious reasons. It's complicated because the more you worship money, I think the more unhinged you are from the things that make life good. So, and it can like at an individual level, like being obsessed about money is not good. So anyway, that's my immediate response. Let's move on. Deaf Republic. So the dramatis personae, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, is basically the list of characters that are going to come out in this drama, in this epic poem, and it's presented in a poetic way. So that's kind of interesting, formally speaking. Let's look. The chorus. The townspeople of Asenka are the chorus, and there's the Greek chorus, like in ancient Greek poetry, and they are, as a group, going to tell the story. The wind fondles laundry lines. That's a nice line. Alfonso is the narrator of Act 1. Mama is the eye of Act 2. I just realized I zoned out on the sort of structure here, so let me just go back. So Alfonso is a puppeteer and a husband to Sonia, who is also a puppeteer, the best one of Asenka. The child is inside Sonia, and Petya is Sonia's cousin. Mama is an owner who instigates insurgency. So she is sort of rebellious against the government. The puppets are politically charged. The soldiers arrive in Vasenka to protect our freedom, speaking a language no one understands. Puppets hang on doors and porches of the families of the arrested, except for one puppet lying on the cement. A middle-aged woman wearing a child like a broken arm, her mouth filling with snow. Wow, that's a powerful last image for that interesting formal take on the dramatis personae. It's prose. It is, okay. Our country is the stage. When soldiers march into town, public assemblies are officially prohibited. Hang on. I just lost, I missed a big thing there. And then a jeep swerves in, disgorging its own sergeant. By the way, that's crazy wording. Disperse immediately, and then the puppet mimics in a wooden falsetto. Everyone freezes except Petya, who keeps giggling. This is the deaf boy, the deaf cousin. You, the puppet raises his finger, watches the puppet. Puppet watches the sergeant. The sergeant watches Sonia and Alfonso, but the rest watch Petya lean back. And he spits. He launches a spit. The sound we did not hear lifts the gulls off the water. I think he's dead, right? Ooh, what are gulls? I don't know what gulls are. Oh, it's just a shorthand for seagulls, and that means that yeah. It's an interesting silencing effect through those words, but then lifting the gulls off the water, that they kind of squawk as they come up off. You can kind of, you substitute the silence with you substitute the bang, the sound of the bang, with the sound of the gulls, and it's such a dramatic effect. Oof, we see in Sonia's open mouth the nakedness of a whole nation. She stretches out beside the little snowman napping in the middle of the street. As picking up its belly, the country runs. And that's the sample. I think I would read this. I would say, for me, like, as someone who also has written poetry, like, I tend to gravitate more towards, I don't know, fancy, silly things. And I remember reading poetry from, like, independence, like pro-independence, Korean independence, freedom fighters, and poets and dramatists of that era when Japan colonized Korea. And I remember thinking, why is it so hard for me to connect to this? Because it has such a strong political charge, and for some reason I've always found it really hard to connect. But the language here is is it's alive and it's fresh and it's shocking at times. And so I think that's honestly worth reading, and worth expanding my horizons. So that's Death Republic. Let me try I Will Die in a Foreign Land. Before I do, I don't even remember I Will Die in a Foreign Land. I want to like double check the Goodreads like reviews for this. I just kind of want to get a sense of what I'm looking at. It's pretty it's very well rated, 4.3. January 14th. A debut author, tiny press, little publicity. Finally, I noticed it's about 2014. Huh. Okay. The nothing has given me such a profound impression of what Ukrainians have endured as this intensely moving novel. What a great review. Folk songs, news reports, historical notes that flesh out the larger context, but it's a interesting political standpoint here. It's very much hinted at. We don't really know what David's concerns are about the whitewashing. So I would be kind of curious what that is, but he doesn't explain. So I'll have to move on. Honestly, just from what I saw from that first review, I think that was good to just work with. I mean, I'm already kind of knowing what I'm looking at. So the main thing is, at least this one reader found that it really helped provide a sort of sense of what the people have endured, right? And maybe this reader is sort of reading things into it. Who knows? It's just one person. But I just want to see how the first chapter or so goes. So let me get into that. Right. Let me get into it right now. Actually, I do want to read one more thing about this, which is I just want to know how the reviews were, generally speaking, from like the publications. The Chicago Review of Books. I don't remember that existing before. Kirkus Reviews, New York Journal Books. So we're getting this from more independent reviewers. We're not getting it so much from like New York Times or anything like that, right? Yeah. I guess it's because it's from a sort of independent publisher. Let's see though. Kirkus, I think, was pretty. I mean, I'm not such a literary person anymore, but I think Kirkus was a really solid place for reviews. So let's just see. An excellent debut from an author who's bursting with talent, and man, Ukrainian police fired at the crowd of protesters in Kiev. Dude, what the? Okay, so this is Innovative, emotionally resonant, deeply affecting. I'm kind of curious. I think honestly that's good enough from me. I'm just gonna go right into it. Wait, is that literally the sample? Oh, okay. Very strange. Okay. I'm just kind of getting like a skim. Buzz. Star review. Starred review. I don't know what that means. Okay, I think I'll have to skip through these because it's actually quite a lot. Here we go. Based in Columbus. Cool. Independent publishers, let's go. Wow, these chapter names are kind of overwhelming. Okay. I assume these are chapter names. Ooh, man, this is like, honestly, it's a map I've become increasingly familiar with in the last 5 days. Oh, this is a actual timeline. Okay. The Revolution of Dignity. Yanukovych. Oh, Yanukovych was kind of pro-Russia, I see. And so we have protesters protesting, and they attacked 8 days later, and riots break out, and 500,000 march. A statue of Lenin is destroyed. Wow. So that was an intense time. Okay. 4,000 Berkut attacked protesters. Do we learn what Berkut is? Oh, the Berkut is the police. Ring an alarm for the first time in 800 years. Wow, that is such an... That's so symbolically, oh my god, I'm not even showing the screen. I apologize. Holy crap. That... I'm such a noob. Okay. So I was just looking at this timeline, and it's literally the beginning. I was mentioning this map. I was talking about how crazy this table of contents is. Anyway, and I'm just learning this timeline. Oh, dude, 2013. And this bell, I'm just like moved by this bell. The action plan. Crowds reaching 200,000 at the Maidan Nezalezhnosti. Okay. Strict laws against protesting the dictator laws. The riots erupt. Live and rubber ammunition grenades. Refused to accept the ceasefire. State of de facto. 103 civilians, 13 police. Wow. Holy crap. The Heavenly 100. He flees Ukraine and seeks asylum in Russia. And then pro-Russian troops seize the Parliament of Crimea. Oh. That's how that all happened? That is crazy. Poroshenko becomes the 5th president of Ukraine. So that's not even the current. The war in Donbass remains ongoing. Amsterdam to Columbus shut down by Paris. This was related to this? Oh my god. Dude, this was related? Oh, dude. I know that's far away by strangers in a foreign land. I will be laid away. This little pinch of native soil will on my grave be placed. I will die in a foreign land. Yo, that there's a lot of pathos right there, man. I feel a lot of feelings from this, just from literally just this timeline. I think I'm actually I actually want to read this pretty strongly. Let's go. Prologue. Kobzari singing. We have a chorus here too. This is referring to like ancient history. The Cossacks, the UNRDPA. It doesn't just begin here, my friend. It doesn't begin or end with Stalin or Yanukovych or Poroshenko or Zelensky. Hang on. Give me a sec. Now I'm confused about. Yes, it is Zelensky, right? So Poroshenko must be the previous. Okay, he must be the. Let me just double check here. Right, Poroshenko is the 5th president, and Zelensky is presumably the 6th president. So let's go. So Poroshenko. But what's crazy, by the way, is this book was written in 2015, I think. And Poroshenko was president until 2019 from 2014. So I'm just a little confused, honestly, because why is Zelensky being mentioned here? Is that like was Zelensky the actor when he was at this time? 2015? I'm just going to literally search Zelensky 2015. Right now, I'm just doing a quick Google search. I mean, I could show it to you. To find... Oops. I'm just trying to learn what I can. Whatever, I'm just going to leave this here. Okay. Learn what I can about him in 2015. Poroshenko. In 2014, Yanukovych was toppled after, and then Poroshenko, the billionaire, was elected president. And there was an insurgency in the east, and he struggled to even enact even modest reforms. So Zelensky became a history teacher, and so Zelensky was kind of popular already at that time in 2015. So I guess that's what it's referring to. Okay, so Anyway, I was just shocked that Zelensky's name came out here in the first place, because this was written before, right? When was it written again? Let me just double check. This was written in. Okay, where's the back of the? Here, right? Oh, 2021. Oh, that's why. I thought it was 2015. Okay, sorry, I'm all over the place. Okay, so moving on. So Zelensky was not just a comedian, he was actually a president at this point. The war has always been quite like a pulse, unnoticed. Dude, that's like Korea, by the way. Although not as threatening. I think we don't take the North as serious as we did with Russia. So that's kind of separate. We've known thirst, we've known hunger here. How can we? How many times have you carried your dead through the streets? We sing the history of Kiev. Come and you will see. Okay, I zoomed through that. I don't know why. I zoomed through it. I guess maybe because I was just having a hard time like stabilizing on like something to focus on. But what should I be focusing on? Let's do this again. the captain. So he's from the police, the military. The bearish piano. He's kind of wealthy. His own father. Young people have come to. He heard them, saw them gathering. He doesn't remember, but he remembers putting on his father's. So right now, I'm trying to place him. Like, where is he? Is he on the side of the young people, or is he against the young people? Soviet jacket. The balaclava covers his face, and he questions. Oh, see, he's on the police side. The open sky, flowers. He cut through the crowd, uplifted and exhilarated. This is how it all began. Where he would play day after day. Okay, maybe he was not police. I am. His gloves black, with the fingers cut. He twists the ring on his finger. His father's silver. Oh, okay. He's on the side of the. Yes, he plays piano for the protesters. Maidan. This, I think, is the location. Maidan. Oh, I'm thinking. I gotta take a phone call. Give me a sec. 자기야, 잠깐만. Okay, well, that was my girlfriend calling from Korea. Couldn't avoid that. Wouldn't avoid it. Let's get into it. Protesters killed in Kiev. And we're at January 22nd, 2014, right? So that's over here. Okay. So I just want to frame myself properly. Like, we are within that timeline. We're right in the middle of that timeline. Oh, actually, because I read the timeline, I kind of already know a lot of this. It's also interesting how dry this, like how typical and dry, like how prosaic this prose is right now compared to how kind of funky it was just before. So there's a lot of tonal shifts here. Trying to figure that out, but yeah, this is just dry and factual. Yeah, only grown in size. Journalists have also been targeted. 35 was abducted. Barely able to walk, he was beaten on the soles of his feet, had a black eye, and was missing a tooth. Lutsenko, 12 hours later. The journalist, man, oof. Okay. Berkut police. body, ribs broken, organs smashed. Yo. Okay. Honestly, it is a little hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine this is happening. Because the severity of like the kind of the CIA, like the Korean CIA, I've seen this through movie representations. But this is happening like 8 years ago in Ukraine, and now there's an actual war breaking out. Katya is thinking of Boston. Okay, just disaster after disaster. Hey. Hang on, I just lost track here. Maybe I don't know why I feel like I'm rushing, but for some reason I am. So Katya is an American. The son Isaac would have been 6 years old, meaning she lost her son. And Ezra could be their husband. Ezra had sent her an email that she hadn't yet read. It is from her husband. Gold and blue, it looks like Byzantium, the new Rome. The cherubs. That's an interesting image, just the saints all seeing her, all seeing all of her ache, the ache that she has probably from having lost her son. And now these people are dying. This might be the captain. The black balaclava, that might be the captain, the one who plays on the piano. Hundreds of saints look down. It's an interesting image. It's I feel many feelings from that image. So Katya is a doctor, a Boston educated doctor, huh? Kitten. Okay, flashback to the sun. And a sword. Simeon says to Mary on the death of Jesus, And a sword will pierce your own soul too. What kind of fuck is it? Right. Okay, so we have a mother who cannot believe that another mother, Mary, would knowingly sacrifice her own son because the pain of her son is so big. Whew, what? Inside. Oh, I see. Hanging from his feet. Framed paintings of sad Byzantine eyes lined the wall floor to ceiling. Her son is pale, his arms crossed over his chest. What the heck is this crazy image? I am not understanding it. This bowl beats in the cupped hands. It's like a crazy dream. Oh, it is a dream. It's a dream. Sorry, it's a nightmare. I just missed the title. It's a dream. It's this horrible, horrible dream. January 20th. Is this before? Is this before or after? We're not doing weird things, right? We're staying. No, it is a little before. Okay, I see. So we actually backed up a couple days. So that's something I should be paying attention to then. Okay, I'm coming back to here. So we're in the we're on January 20th now. So this is referring to Boston, which I'm finding that I'm zoning out. I'm finding that I'm wanting to read this very quickly, and I think part of it is because we're painting a picture of someone who's gone through a lot of tragedy, but for some reason I just don't feel very patient about this tragedy, and I want to know, and I want to rush through it. And then this reflection on Ukraine as this country. Her broken marriage. Okay, so Ezra is back in Boston. No picture of her birth mother. So her birth mother, maybe she was adopted. Okay, she was. She's replying back to her mother in America. So this Katya has a lot of things going on with her, or for her, within her. A broken marriage in America with her mother there, but not her birth mother. Her birth mother that she's sort of seeking in Ukraine, kind of internally. Also, she went through the twin tragedy of the Boston bombing and terrorism attack, and then now she's in Ukraine where the protesters are being shot, like being suppressed by the police. There's a lot going on with this one character. It's like a superhuman amount of trauma that she's going through right now, and she's also lost her own son. Her son is dead, her marriage is dead, and her birthplace is on fire. I find that I do feel like that's a little too on the nose. I feel like it's a little too, like, dramatic. Okay, I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna find something else to read. So I just it seems like a lot, that novel. It seems like a lot, and I guess what feels very strange about this, right, is because with poetry and fiction, I'm not reading something I'm reading an imaginative work. Like, on the one hand, like, I got into this Ukraine topic because I want to feel more connected to the reality. On the other hand, when I read an imaginative work, I want to feel really connected by the standards of fiction and poetry. And it's weird. It's weird to try to connect through fiction and poetry to something that's happening like right now. I feel like the more natural way of connecting is just through nonfiction. I mean, it just feels strange to me to try to connect through works of art. I think now that I've read both the sample of Deaf Republic and most of the sample of I Will Die in a Foreign Land, I'm more partial to reading Deaf Republic. But beyond that, I just kind of want to know more of just the facts, what's happening here. And I did learn quite a bit just from the timeline of I Will Die in a Foreign Land, but I just want to know more about Putin and Ukraine. So let's get into Winter is Coming. And I'm going to try this a little bit. No continuous scrolling. Okay, let me turn this to my usual theme so that's not so weird looking. Okay, it's not responsive to my themes. So I guess I'll just work with this ugly looking. Yo. Maybe, can I change the standard? Okay, large. All right, I'll work with this. Okay, very strange and buggy right now, but wow, it's getting locked up right now. It's not responding. Let me close and reopen. Okay, and here we go. Okay, what I'm trying to do right now. Table of contents. You know what it is? I'm just tired now. I'm tired, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read. Let's see. Let's see what I can get from Gary Kasparov, right? Let's just see. Oh, dude, this sample keeps bugging out. Yo. Yo, Amazon, please fix your samples. Okay. Okay, so I'm good. Please don't crash. Ah, it keeps crashing. It's like totally broken. Maybe I'll. Oh, okay, there. That works. Okay, I'm gonna give this a shot, and if I just poop out, then I'm just gonna poop out. Okay, so this will be my last attempt. Gorbachev. Hardliners had sequestered Gorbachev, declared a state of emergency, that this might start a civil war. He was alone in saying that the coup had no chance of success. It would be over in 48 hours. Yeah, Boris Yeltsin and the people wanted freedom. And it ended the USSR. And Gary Kasparov is doing a little bit of he's trying to establish credibility right now. So he's saying that he predicted this. The present was too totalitarian. They wanted something better. This process of purification. We'll destroy the machine of the KGB. Down with the KGB. Freedom. Born again. And then 8 years later, a former lieutenant colonel of the KGB became president. Rolled back. You know, this autumn, you know what? I already feel the anger. I feel Gary Kasparov's anger. I feel it. Vladimir Putin. Jump to 2015. He's still in the Kremlin. He has annexed Crimea after invading Georgia, just days after Sochi. Fomented a war in eastern Ukraine. First person to annex a foreign territory by force since Saddam Hussein. They are sanctioning him just like we're sanctioning him now. The specter of nuclear annihilation has returned. There are two stories. How did it end up electing a KGB officer and then invading? And how did the free world let this happen? So the danger, according to Gary Kasparov, is that we're going to slide into another Cold War. And so far, it kind of seems like his prediction's correct. This world has no coherent strategy to deal with the challenges of these murderous regimes, and with these, it's kind of a lot to handle in just those couple paragraphs, but okay. When the Cold War ended, we had no sense of purpose. So Gary Kasparov is upset that we continue to even acknowledge these nations, engage them to negotiate, provide them with weapons and wealth to attack us. We are feeding the crocodiles and hoping they will eat us last. So Gary Kasparov is taking a pretty strong moral stance. We need to stand by principles of good and evil, not and right and wrong, and values. We can't just appease Russia. Engaging with dictators has failed. A time for choosing. We're not choosing between peace and war, only between fighting and surrendering. We must not surrender. America must lead. Japan and South Korea must act. Australia, Brazil, India, South Africa, any country that values democracy and liberty and benefits from global stability. I think this is fun. It's definitely it's a very strident position to make, but it is a clear voice with a clear set of values, and I think it's a voice worth listening to, at least having heard once. It's a voice worth having heard once. I'm just like smooshing these sentences together. Anyway, let's keep going. I had a rebirth. I retired from chess to join the pro-democracy movement. I wanted my children to grow up in a free Russia. And he had this sign by his mother: "If not you, who else?" I was troubled by the KGB background. Sudden rise to power. Pacifying Chechnya. Yet Yeltsin had badly tarnished his democratic credentials by using... Oh, wow, okay, well that's bad history. 1996 default left the economy in a shaky state. So Putin, and there's actually a great passage I read somewhere. Basically, the concept was democracy is not something that's natural for people. We don't naturally want democracy and all that freedom of choice. Naturally, as people, we want to actually hand over power to someone we feel like we trust. And naturally, people who are really good at persuading us to hand over power will want to accrue that power to themselves. Our human nature is such that we want to give power, and some of us want to accrue that power. And so naturally, we are inclined towards letting tyrants rule over us. Democracy is not a natural state of affairs. We must fight for it actively and proactively. And that was kind of the concept of this thing I'd read. Probably through like an SAT reading. It seems like an SAT passage I read. But yeah. And it's such an interesting, what a relevant example here. Right? Because physical and social insecurity are targets when democracy is fragile. And dictators rise with the support of the public. He actually went on the ticket to show what a sham it was. So Garry Kasparov has been very politically active. And he's been making protests. Oh, and this is, I feel the feeling now. I feel the rage, and this Kindle is crashing right now, but I feel the rage. The rage is, I'm doing what I can. I'm fucking running for president. I'm trying to show what a sham this democracy has become under Putin. I'm trying to mobilize against him. And you, the West, you are lying in bed with Putin. You are engaging with him economically and politically, and you are treating him as a peer. You are directly harming my ability to increase freedom in my own land. You fuckers. That's basically what Garry Kasparov is saying. I feel that rage now, and I see what's driving him, and this made me way more interested in the story. Unfortunately, it is crashing. Like, my Kindle's crashing, and I'm too frustrated to continue right now. But you know what? I will. You know what? I actually do want to read this. So, oops, that's my video game. I'm gonna go back. So, actually, and it's working immediately, so that's perfect. So I want to read the rest of this argument. It's actually pretty crazy. That's where all the rage is coming from. Tremendous wealth for these dictatorships. Now they have all this infrastructure. You guys are being naive, thinking you can gradually liberalize them. No, man. They're just abusing this access they get. Europe gets a third of its energy from Russia. Meanwhile, Europe draws 80% of Russia's energy exports. Hey? Draws 80%. Who has greater leverage when Russia, 80% of Russia's energy exports goes to Europe? Doesn't that make Russia weaker? I'm kind of confused. And yet during the Ukraine crisis, Europe can't. Oh, I see. He's saying Russia is weaker. Oh, okay, I got confused. Oh, he's being angry because, oh, he's saying you guys are being cowards. Only a third of your energy is coming from Russia, right? Russia needs you because 80% of the sales is through you. Russia needs you more than you need them. Okay. Considering looking, oh, I see. He's okay. Gary Kasparov is really pissed at the European Union. I see. A boycott on Russian energy would destroy the economies. You would have so much power, you idiot. That's what he's saying right now. You have so much power, why don't you use it? But you don't have any will. You're not going to make any sacrifices. And basically, I bet Gary Kasparov is hugely pissed off about Ukraine now. It's like, this is basically your fault, Europe. You let this happen. You've been appeasing Russia this whole time. I assume that's what he's saying. I could look it up in the future. I probably will, because I'm really curious, but let me continue with this first. Wow. Yeah, now Russians get to kind of escape into New York City and London. Now, by the way, at this very moment, all of these things that Gary Kasparov is criticizing, now now the West is taking action on these things. They're locking up a lot of these things down right now, as I understand. Oh, hang on. What just happened? This is so buggy. What? Where am I? Okay, here. When a sweatshop is exposed in the media, but in the end they care little. These oligarchs are spreading their wealth and influence around the globe, and they're actually returning the favor by investing. They want Russian energy. Human rights were not yeah. BP CEO Robert Dudley fleeing Russia in 2008 when he was CEO of a joint venture. He fled, and then he came back for a photo op with Putin. And you know what? All of that foreign investment hasn't improved even average Russians. It's going right back into Western banks, into real estate, because of the oligarchs capturing it all. Domination, mass media, ruthless persecution of all. Yeah, okay. I've always heard of Russia being such like a, what would you call it, like a oppressive society, and it's just, for me, the ignorant person that I am, it just seemed like such a caricature, it's just like this thing that you just keep hearing and you just get so used to it. But now that I'm actually reading it from someone who's actually legitimately pissed, I feel that frustration. Embracing Putin on the world stage. Accepting a dictator as part of the family. Okay. This sample's weird, man. It keeps like changing the position of things. It took the invasion of Ukraine to finally get the G7, I call it the G7, to expel him from the elite club of industrial democracies. Bush congratulated, Sarkozy congratulated, Germany, UK. Huh. Charm offensive. So for Gary Kasparov, it's like all, and he's specifically calling out these presidents now, Bush, Obama, and he's saying, man, you guys are entrenching this guy who is destroying our democracy. He's growing bolder. You know, so far this feels very prescient. Human rights situation has been deteriorating. That's a good metaphor, by the way. What about the destruction of every newborn, and when you say newborn, you think of babies, democratic institution in Russia, while the Rices and Kissingers, okay, these are prominent politicians and foreign state secretary of states type of what do you call this? Not foreign relations, but foreign relations, diplomatic figures. While the diplomats of the world looked on, of America, by the way, if the human rights of the Soviet people and the political prisoners in the vast gulags mattered, then why do the dissidents not deserve similar concern and respect? Reagan would toss the list of the political prisoners on the table first. You know, it's tricky, huh? Putin was a Russian problem for Russians to solve, but actually, oh yeah. Too little, too late. Okay, we're being had by the fall of the symbol. Yeah, we love symbols. We like narratives, and the wall was a literal symbol. So hey, sure, it's good to celebrate, but now we're being naive. Nuclear war was right. So actually, he's talking about the why it's okay to celebrate it. It's a good thing. The gravity of past success. Each victory pulls the victor down slightly and makes it harder. The happy winner starts feeling more gravity. Clinton and Yeltsin hugged and laughed, so we all just want to have this era of good feelings. What the Now we're just carrots. But this expansive method was also applied in places where you shouldn't have. Okay, it's good to be supportive and to be helpful for these Eastern European countries that are trying to be democratic, but not when it's Putin. Oh, what the heck? Come on. By the way, that's a pretty scathing comment. And experience has shown you can often do just fine being on the wrong side of history. You can be an evil person if you are on the right side of a pipeline. If you have gas and oil. It is a shame that Hitler and Stalin have become caricatures, like they're mythological. He's trying to say that they're real. This evil doesn't just go away. It can take root in our complacency. Communism didn't just disappear. People still live in communist dictatorships today. 1.5 billion. Wow, this image, man. The baby boomer president of Bill Clinton versus the dragon whose teeth were growing, Lukashenko. Ooh, Kazakhs. Oh man. Actually, Garry Kasparov is he writes well. Un-Russian behavior. Okay. You run out of internal enemies and have to look abroad. Okay. Yanukovych fled the country, right? And he seized his chance. He went for Crimea. Ukraine is just one battle the free world would like to ignore. Failure to defend Ukraine is failure to defend the Allies. A failure of the Allies to defend Czechoslovakia in 1938, which began in the world, which was, I guess, the beginning of the World War II. Morality-based frameworks to confront Russia and China. Especially when they have nuclear weapons. We need to have policies based on principle. We must resist the distractions and excuses and strawman arguments. Denial is not an acceptable policy. You can no longer engage with Putin. The free world does not have this kind of leadership that's willing to accept short-term sacrifice for long-term good. You need to go beyond just the next poll, the next quarterly report, the next election. You need to think long-term. Since then, we've been passing the buck, which is a good phrase if you don't know. We've been sort of shifting the responsibility to someone else. That's an interesting argument. Even in 36 and 37 and 38, Hitler was not Hitler yet. You know, he only became Hitler through the appeasement. It's kind of an interesting argument there. And Putin has nuclear weapons. And he's not shy of reminding us that he has nuclear weapons. He literally just did it starting 2 days ago. Kasparov must be pissed. Jesus. Undeclared war. This is an undeclared war and it's real. And yes, if you don't have symbols, it's hard to rally, but you must rally. 2 decades of Western retrenchment and retreat have encouraged Putin and terrorist groups to flourish. Democracies need to have some spine. The last section is dedicated to comprehensive plan to implement the recovery. Okay, I will share my personal observations as an activist. New York-based Human Rights Foundation. Whew. All right, that was fiery. I'm gonna stop there. I think that's honestly good enough. Out of the 3 that I've read so far, I think I'm most drawn to Garry Kasparov for the reasons I actually already mentioned. I do think though the poetry, Deaf Republic, the book of poetry, I might just kind of read alongside as well, just because I kind of feel it. I am a little bit suspicious. Like I feel a little iffy about the novel. I will die in a foreign land, because it feels a little tear-jerky. Like we're kind of building up this character. It feels like a little overwhelmingly like tragic, and I don't know what to do with that. Like I don't know if I feel like fully connected to that story. So I think I'm gonna hold off on that until some other day when I feel like reading it. But you know, I would, but you know, what I think about these books is probably very different from what you guys are thinking about these books. You know, people respond very differently to very different things depending on your taste and your background knowledge and your interests and whatnot. So I'm kind of curious, you know, what you guys think. If you're doing any reading, because of this war in Ukraine, if you're doing any reading, I'm curious what you guys are reading. You know, share your recommendations, and I'll see what happens. You know, maybe I'll stream some of the things that I read as I go. As I keep doing this streaming thing, I'm starting to realize that honestly, you know, reading tends to be a lot more interesting. Or I think these streams tend to be a lot more interesting for things that are like considered classically hard, you know, like literature hard, you know, because those are the kinds of things that people have trouble reading, that I think, you know, I mean, I also have trouble reading them, but, you know, I tend to enjoy things like Romeo and Juliet, which I don't think is normal for most of the population. So, you know, I'm just thinking out loud right now about some of the ways that this stream could go. But if you have your own opinions about this, let me know. Today, I actually didn't just read The Deaf Republic. I read like 3 different samples from Kindle, all based on my sort of scanning of what's out there with regard to the Ukraine war and just the history of Russia and Ukraine. And it was kind of experimental for me. So just what I'm hoping is that you guys are able to kind of join me on this journey of just like exploring things. And I don't know how interesting or helpful that would have been for you guys, but if it was helpful, I'd love to hear that. So please leave a comment, or or even just hit that like button below. All right, guys, have a good day wherever it is that you're listening. in from, and I'll see you guys in the next one.